Is reopening going to further exacerbate the divide between the haves and the have-nots? Everybody wants to go back, but the people who are actually going to work and risking their health, that's the labor force. The decision makers, the executives, they get to make the money because businesses are reopening, but they get to stay safe at home.
Well, I think that's what we saw during the stay-at-home phase. I mean, the only folks going in, and I want to thank them, the critical essential workforce. I mean, truckers, delivery folks, people in essential factories and food work, and we saw some of the dangers they faced. Now it's moving towards an economy-wide way of doing it as safe as way as possible. But is it risky? Yes. In fact, we're encouraging people over 65 and with pre-existing conditions, they should be among the 50% that aren't going in physically. And we want the employers to work with them to telecommute or take paid time off, whatever it is. But if you're, thankfully, many people in their late 60s and 70s are retired, but not all. And if you're 72 and perfectly healthy and you work, now's not the time to expose yourself to a lot of others.
So what happens if you work in a business and they're reopened and you don't feel safe going back? Can you still collect unemployment?
So we've asked for the 50% going in. Companies in Colorado need to prioritize, first of all, those who are over 65, who have pre-existing conditions, and also those who are primary caretakers for their elderly parents should be prioritized for that 50% that are not going in, that either can continue to telecommute or, if that's not available, can go on unemployment for a period of weeks until it's safer for them to return to the physical workplace.
Okay, but what if you have a job that is in a restaurant? If you have a job that you cannot work from home and you do have kids at home or you don't feel safe, can you stay on unemployment through the term of what the CARES Act has provided for expanded unemployment benefits?
Well, yes, we don't have a date, Stephanie, for restaurants to reopen yet in Colorado. We're all hopeful. We all want to see our restaurants open. They're doing curbside delivery, so some people are working, but we don't have a date yet. I hope it's mid or late May when they're able to physically reopen at a diminished capacity. What's that?
What about factories? If I'm a factory worker, you've got meat processing in Colorado. If my business is open and I don't feel safe, what are my options?
So the meat factories have been open all along. That's where there's been outbreaks at a number of them. Those are part of a critical industry. We've directed our state testing to do testing at the site about a mile from the JBS meat facility in Greeley, and they were closed for a period of 14 days. Employees were being paid during that period of 14 days, and then they reopened in a safer way. But look, if you're looking for things to be perfectly safe, that's not in the foreseeable future for America or the world. The risk is real, and that's why people who are over 65 or pre-existing conditions should do everything that they can to stay home unless they absolutely need to go out. And if you have to work and you're in your 70s, try to do it in a way that's not public facing, meaning in a way that's not exposing yourself to others.
How did you make the decision to reopen? The original White House guidelines said a state should see 2 weeks of declining numbers before opening up. Did that happen in your state?
Well, we do have 2 weeks of declining numbers. We've been doing more testing. So the identified number of cases has been steady, some increases, some decreases, but we're catching a higher percentage of them now with our more extensive testing, and we're going to catch even more in the future. What it really comes down to is that whether you end a stay-at-home period in a week, in 2 weeks, in 3 weeks, makes a lot less of a difference than what comes next, meaning how do you sustain the social distancing over a period of many months, as well as taking additional precautions like we are at our senior and nursing home facilities, testing asymptomatic workers with the Colorado National Guard, with Colorado State University, trying to prevent additional outbreaks at our senior care facilities.
President Trump said on Sunday that none of the governors have been asking him for anything. Are you getting all the support you need? Do you have all the tests available?
Well, I've been on many of those calls, and governors are asking him for things left and right, including more testing, more personal protection equipment. So those requests are numerous. We have many pending requests with the federal government, and we know that we can't always count on them to meet those requests. So we've been very aggressive in purchasing supplies in the private market. We bought over 100,000 coronavirus tests from South Korea. They've arrived here. They're being deployed. We have a whole team we've stood up to purchase masks and gloves, and we've had a lot of success buying masks and gloves from China, from United States, from other supply chains that we've had to open up and be creative to help meet the needs of the people of Colorado.
I want to ask you about Paul Carey, a Colorado paramedic who passed away from coronavirus, not because he was working in Colorado. This man went to New York to volunteer. I know he was honored this weekend. What can you tell us about him?
What a hero, Paul, a career firefighter. Like so many Americans, I can be of help in New York with the crisis. Went there, like a lot of others, contracted coronavirus. He himself was at risk. I think he was 66 years old, and unfortunately, he passed. But you know what? He passed in the line of service, representing the state of Colorado well, and frankly, representing humanity well. These times really often show what's best in all of us, and Paul is a perfect example of that.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.